If you paid attention to Trump's first term, you probably noticed a pattern of Friday nights being the nights he chose to announce his most destabilizing actions. Well, that hasn't seemed to change because he did it again this week. Last week, he purged the inspector generals on Friday night, and this week, he's done something I think even more destabilizing. This time, it's not a late night executive order or a sudden firing, it's a full scale hostile takeover of the US government's personnel agency. Elon Musk's handpicked team is now in full control of the Office of Personnel Management, the agency that oversees 2.2 million federal workers. They just locked out career civil servants from critical government databases containing the most sensitive personal data on federal employees. But before we dive in, if you enjoy this video and want to support the channel, don't forget to click the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. Your support really means a lot, and it also helps promote these progressive messages to the YouTube algorithm, which helps its amplification to reach even more viewers. Alright, this story was published by Reuters yesterday, and it reads, Musk aides lock Office of Personnel Management workers out of computer systems. Alright, so it reads, aides to Elon Musk charged with running the US government Human Resources Agency have locked career civil servants out of computer systems that contain the personal data of millions of federal employees, according to two agency officials. Musk, the billionaire Tesla CEO and ex-owner, tasked by Trump to slash the size of the 2.2 million strong civilian government workforce, has moved swiftly to install allies at the agency known as the Office of Personnel Management. And then it says two officials who spoke to Reuters on condition of anonymity for fear of retaliation said some senior career employees at OPM have had their access revoked to some of the department's data systems. So a severe breach of security for the entire government. The systems include a vast database called Enterprise Human Resources Integration, which contains dates of birth, social security numbers, appraisals, home addresses, pay grades, and length of service of government workers, the officials said. We have no visibility into what they are doing with the computer and data systems, one of the officials said. That is creating great concern. There is no oversight. It creates real cybersecurity and hacking implications. Officials affected by the move can still log on and access functions such as email, but no longer see the massive data sets that cover every facet of the federal workforce. OPM has sent out memos that eschew the normal dry wording of government missives, as it encourages civil servants to consider buyout offers to quit and take a vacation to a quote-unquote dream destination. So it's just like another forced resignation at this Office of Personnel Management. Don Moynihan, a professor at the Ford School of Public Policy at the University of Michigan, said the actions inside OPM raised concerns about congressional oversight at the agency and how Trump and Musk view the federal bureaucracy. Quote, this makes it much harder for anyone outside Musk's inner circle at OPM to know what's going on, end quote, Moynihan said. So already we're seeing a lack of oversight because of the introduction of this private individual, Elon, that wasn't elected to oversee this Office of Personnel Management and now has access to millions of personally identifiable information of government employees. It feels like a hostile takeover, the employee said. The new appointees in charge of OPM have moved the agency's chief management officer, Katie Malag, out of her office into a new office on a different floor, the officials said. David Lebrecht, the top-ranking career U.S. Treasury Department official, is set to leave his post following a clash with allies of Musk after they asked for access to payment systems, the Washington Post reported on Friday. Geez, even payment systems. Quote, no one here knew that the memos were coming out. We are finding out about these memos the same time as the rest of the world, end quote, one of the officials said. Among the group that now runs OPM is Amanda Scales, a former Musk employee who is now OPM's chief of staff. In some memos sent out on January 20th and 21st by Ezel, including one directing agencies to identify federal workers on probationary periods, agency heads were asked to email Scales at her OPM email address. Another senior advisor is Riccardo Biasini, a former engineer at Tesla and most recently a director at the Boring Company, Musk's tunnel building operation in Las Vegas. So this private individual, Elon Musk, comes into the government and supplants and replaces all of these career government employees with his own workforce that has been working for him at his various companies, who now have access to millions of Americans' personally identifiable information like social security numbers. This is both a significant breach in both data privacy and data security. So with all of this data being breached, what kind of data are we talking about? This is including social security numbers, home addresses, security clearances, pay grades, employment history. And now there's no oversight on Musk's people and what they're doing with the data. This is a huge national security risk. So think about this. A group of unelected, hand-picked operatives who now have unrestricted access to the private details of millions of federal workers, including intelligence officials, defense contractors, and law enforcement personnel. Now no one, not Congress, not career civil servants, can see what they're doing with it. They could be altering employment records. Imagine deleting records to remove key government officials or rewriting them to install loyalists. Or they could be erasing personnel files, purging workers deemed disloyal or politically inconvenient. Or they could be manipulating security clearance data, granting access to those who shouldn't have it, or revoking access from key officials. Or they could be selling or leaking sensitive personal data, a catastrophic risk for espionage, identity theft, or political coercion. And it gets worse. Musk's allies aren't just stopping at the OPM. This article also shows that they've made moves inside the Treasury Department, trying to gain access to government payment systems. Think about that for a second. They're taking control of the two agencies that decide who works in the government and how money flows through it. Why does this matter? Because this isn't just about a shakeup in government bureaucracy. This is a full-scale power consolidation effort. Musk has been open about how this is going to be a takeover, just like it was at Twitter, except it's the federal government. This is the American people's government that he's taking over. The implications of that are far more severe than Twitter. When you control who gets hired and fired, you decide who runs the government. When you control who gets hired and fired, you decide who runs the government. When you control payroll and funding, you control who gets paid and who gets cut off. When you lock out career officials, you eliminate oversight. And when you control security clearance data, you control who gets access to the most classified government information. This is bigger than just OPM or Treasury. This is about who has the power to shape the US government itself. And just like in Trump's first term, this is happening on a Friday night. We've seen this movie before. Friday night is when he fires key officials. Friday night is when he installs loyalists. Friday night is when he takes steps that chip away at democratic oversight while no one is watching. But we should be watching because this isn't just about Trump and it's not just about Musk. This is about the fundamental structure of the US government being rewritten in real time behind closed doors. If we ignore this, if we treat it as just another chaotic news cycle, then we may wake up to a government that no longer works for the people, but only for the ones who took it over, the billionaire oligarchs. So stay awake, stay informed, stay loud, and stay vigilant, fellow freedom fighters, because this is just the beginning.